Hi there, my name's Vince from Mr. Telephone, and today I'm going to talk about WAGO connector blocks. Now, I was introduced to WAGO connector blocks quite a few years ago by my electrician friends, but there's still a lot of electricians out there that don't know about them, even though they are gaining in popularity now, and there's a lot of DIYers that still don't know about them. So hopefully after this video you will have an idea what the WAGO connector blocks are, all the different types of connector blocks, and basically how to use them. Now, all a WAGO connector block is, it just replaces the old-fashioned screw terminal blocks. Now these do work, but the problem with them is they can be quite fiddly, especially if you're in a dusty attic or you're working up a ladder, you know, if you hand up a hole, they're a little bit fiddly to work with. Sometimes you can not screw down enough, sometimes you can screw down too much, sometimes you think it's made the connection. If you've got 2 jams or 3 wires jammed in there, you go to tug them and one falls out. They're just a bit irritating. Also, they're not maintenance free because once you screw them down, then over time the wires can come loose. While with the WAGO connectors, there's like a spring, so the wire's always in contact, the copper's always in contact with the spring, and so they're always under pressure. So basically they don't work their way loose. So they're basically maintenance free, so they're really good. Now, the confusing thing about WAGOs is there's just so many of them and they all do a different job and it's hard to get your head around. So hopefully by looking at the different types on this video you'll have a better idea, so you can do a bit of further research, ask your electrical wholesaler about them, check them out on Google. I do sell sample packs on eBay where I sell like one of each type. I still haven't got round to selling the new ones yet, but I will do. And then you can have a little example, you can feel them, play around with them and see which ones you like, and then you can start using them. They are much more expensive than the terminal blocks, but once you start using them and see how easy they are to use, I don't think you're going to go back to the terminal blocks, even though these are more expensive. So I'm going to show you the different wires that's going to be used in this video. Now, when you look at the instructions for WAGOs, it will be solid, stranded and fine stranded. All the instructions seem to be solid, stranded and fine stranded. So I'm just going to talk about the difference between these. So with a solid cable, it is a solid piece of copper. That's just one solid piece of copper. Okay. When we're looking at a stranded cable, we're talking about normally 7 strands of copper. Okay, so the conductor is made up of 7 strands of copper. And when we're talking about a fine stranded cable, we basically mean flex. So that's like a multi-stranded cable. So as you can see, there's loads of strands on that. This is the very flexible stuff, yeah, the flex cable. So that's fine stranded. So they're the 3 types of cables that's going to be used in this particular video. Right, so I'm going to show you the different WAGOs that's going to be in this video. Here we have the 222 series. Here we have the 773 series. This is also a 773 series, but this accepts larger conductors. This is the new 2273 series. Here we have the 224 series. And here we have the 221 series. Now, in each of these series, you then have different names. So, for example, on the lever ones here, this one here would be a 222, and then this one would be a 412. This would be a 222, 413. This would be a 222, 415. So if you were to Google 222, 415 WAGO, you would see pictures of this and people selling these. Now, yeah, so it is confusing, all the different types, but I'm just going to basically show you roughly how to connect them up, and then I'm going to show you how to connect up the lever ones, and you will kind of get that it's the same kind of process for each of them, but different ones do different size of wires. One might do stranded, one might only do solid, but you get the idea. But anyway, all I'm going to show you is roughly how this one works. So let's say now we wanted to connect a solid core cable to a fine stranded, a flex cable. So if you have a look closely at the back, you will see that the WAGOs, normally the instructions are actually written on the WAGO, but you have to look really closely. So if you have a look here, you can see that it says 10. If you can see that or not. And you can also see that there's a cutout here. So basically from here to the end of that cutout is 10 mil. So you can use that as a guide for stripping back your wire. So for example, here's what I did earlier. You can see there that I've stripped that back from there to there, and that's 10 mil. And in this particular instance, let's say if we want to connect the brown live to the brown live on the flex, we just lift up the lever all the way up, not like that. You need to lift them all the way up so it's vertical. You push your wire into the hole corresponding to the lever, all the way in so it won't go any further, and you snap that shut. So now that wire is in, and then the same with the flex. You measure 10 mil of flex, okay, and then you lift up the lever, you push the flex all the way in, and then you close the lever down, and that's these two connected. And as you can see, they really are strong. Okay, so you know that once you do the connections on the WAGOs, you're confident that it really has made the connection, and it's as simple as that. All the WAGOs as well will have a little test hole in them. So on this one here, again, I don't know if the camera will pick it up. Let's get it the right way around. It's so small. Test. So if you see, there's a little arrow there, and it says test in it. Yeah. So all that is, you can get your test probes, and then you can push them in there to do your testing. So they really are nicely designed, well made. So with the so this is the 222 series. I'm just going to let you look at that now, and you can pause the video. Save me reading out on every single one. But as you can see, this does a huge range of wires. So with this one, on the solid and stranded, it can go from 0.08 millimeters squared to 2.5 millimeters squared, and then on the fine stranded, which is the flex, it can go from 0.08 millimeters squared all the way up to 4 millimeters squared. The current rating on this one is 32, and I'll do that for each of these, so you can pause them on each of them so you can get an idea. Now with these, I'm just going to talk about the item code. So on this one here, this is a 222412, 222413, and the 5 lever is a 222415. And you don't have to use all of them. Let's say if you just wanted to connect one wire up to 3 other wires, it's fine to leave one blank, or you can leave 2 blank, it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's the 222 series. Now, recently these came out. These are basically pretty similar to the old lever WAGOs. They've just made them easier to use, because I think some people were having problems lifting up these levers because they can. I mean, you can see it leaves an imprint in your finger. Yeah, you do need they can be a bit fiddly, especially if you've got sausage fingers, but they're fine. Once you get used to them, you can be quite rough with them. You're going to be hard. You're going to find it hard to break those levers, but they still do take a bit of force, because you can see you get a bit of indentation on your fingers. So what they've done is they've made them a little bit easier to lift up. In fact, it's a lot easier to lift up, and also they've made them smaller. So if you can see, they take up less room. So if we have a look at the 3 one, you see the size difference. It doesn't look like there's much of a size difference, but because they're so flat, they take up much less room. So now you can, like, if they're on top of each other, can you see? Because normally you are stuck for space when you're working in the back boxes. But can you see that they take up a lot less room, because 2 of them on top of each other take up a lot more than them. So the new ones are lovely. You can still get the old ones, but well, it depends when you're watching the video. But yeah, so same applies again. You have there you see you have a little guide there that says strip it back 11 millimeters. If you can see there, it says 11 on the side, and it will be printed on all of them. They're really well made. Again, 11. But the same applies again. Lift the lever up, push it in, close it down. Job done. Nice and tight. And again, this will have a test. There we go. It says test. You won't see it, it's too small, but it says test at the back here. And you can get your probe and you can push it in there to do your testing. So, okay, it's just gets confusing with all the different item codes. So with these ones, these come in again in a 2, a 3 and a 5 lever, and this is the 221 series. So the 2 lever would be 221 412, 3 lever is 221 413, and the 5 lever is 221 415. And this one here, if you have a look on there, slightly different than the older levers. Okay, but again, you can pause that. Once you find out the ones you like, you can pause it, and then you can get all that information from Google. So that's that one there. Also, you get little leaflets and stuff that tell you different things about it. If you want to have a look at that, and maybe you can pause that. Okay, there's those ones. Now, then we also have push WAGOs. Now this is the older type, this is the 773 series, and basically again they do exactly the same job, they're just connecting one wire. On this one here you'd be connecting one wire to 7 other wires. They're slightly more compact than the lever ones, but they are harder to use. Now all these WAGOs are reusable, but these are harder to use because once you push the wire in, so you push the wire in until it goes to the very end there. Again, the measurements are all on here again. I think these ones it says to strip back. These ones are 12 millimeters you have to strip back. Obviously, I've just stripped back 10 millimeters because I used it on the other one, but you can see it still made the contact. But you might as well do it 12 millimeters because that's what it tells you to do. So you push them in, and then you get your other, your other wire. Push them in there. So here I've done a 1.5 millimeter wire and a 2.5 millimeter wire. Now the problem with these is taking them out. You can take them out, and you're supposed to, WAGO say you can take them out, but it is more fiddly. The other ones are just a lever you just lift up. With these ones you have to twist and pull them out. So you have to twist them to get them out. But when you don't twist them, you can see they are really very strongly in there. Like really strongly in there, so they don't come out, but then to get them out you just twist and pull at the same time, and then they do come out, and you can see what it does. You can see the way it bites onto it. So they are reusable. Yeah, so you get them in 2, 4, 6 and 8, and these are nice because they take up less space. So with the lever ones they're 5, but with this one here, it's 8, and can you see it's roughly, well the 8 is actually smaller. So these are handy, especially when you haven't got a lot of space, and also the push ones are cheaper, but you can't use flex on them. So if you have a look there, you'll see all the information there. So you see you can't use flex on these ones, so you can't use the same range of wires or the same type of wires that you can use in the lever one. Okay, so they're the push ones. They've been around for a long time. Now, as I'm making this video, these have come out quite recently, and these are lovely. These are the push WAGOs again, but they've really come down in size now. I mean, these are super small. If you look at the 8 wire one now compared to the old 8 wire, can you see the size difference? There's a huge size difference. Yeah? Which is great. And you still have all your test probes in them, so you've still got your test holes here at the end. Yeah, you can still test in there. They still do the same job. The only problem with them is these ones now, they are only solid conductor only. You can no longer use the stranded. So on the old push you could use stranded and solid, not flex, but you could use stranded and solid. But now on these ones you can only use solid. Okay, so that's the information there. Now these are called the 2273 series. So on these ones, the 2 wire one would be the 2273202. 3 wire is 2273203. The 4 wire is 2273204. 5 wire is 2273205. And the 8 wire is 2273208. So these are slightly different because they go 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5 and jump straight to 8, while with the old push it was 2, 4, 6 and 8. And I didn't mention that, just in case you want the item codes so you can look them up on Google. The old push, these are these ones here, so this yellow one is 2, 2, sorry, so confusing, right, 773102, 773104, 773106 and 773108. So they're all the item codes. And if you want to have a look at the, these are for the new push here. You want to have a little zoom in on that. You can pause it and take it all in. Hopefully you'll be able to read that. Okay, so they're those ones. Now, I didn't mention on the old push, you can also get one that does a wider range of wires. So this one here is a 2.5mm squared to a 6mm squared, solid and stranded conductor. And this is also rated up to 41 amps. That's that one there, that's just a 3-pole. Now, you can't get other varieties of this, that is just the 3-pole. Now, this one here is a 773173. But it's handy to have a few of them as well. Again, you've got your test sockets. Trying to see where the hole is. There you go, in here. Yeah, in there. Okay, that's one there. And here we have, I call these lighting WAGOs. This is a 224 series. And you have the these types here. So I'll let you zoom in on that. You've got the 224101. You've got the 224112 and the 224201. So I'll let you have a little zoom in off that. This is the information. Okay. And basically the idea of these is you would have one solid conductor to one either solid, stranded or flex. So on these, for example, you would, again, you've got the diagram at the back here. See if you can see that. It says to strip back 10mm. Little picture there. Again, you have the test socket is here, in here. And yeah, just give you a quick example here on this 1.5mm cable. So you would put the solid cable in this side here like so, and then you would put your flex. You would put your flex in here. So you just pinch them, push them in, and that's it then. Yeah, you can see. Nice and tight. So this one here is, and to take them off again, same, just twist. Whenever you get the push ones, you just twist to take them off. But it's amazing, when you don't twist them, they really don't want to come off. So you have to twist to get them off. So, okay, so that's one hole to one cage clamp. This is a 2-hole one, so you can put 2 solid conductors in there to one cage clamp. And then you've got this one is cage clamp to cage clamp. Cage clamp to cage clamp. Yeah, cage clamp there and a cage clamp there. So that's the lighting ones. Okay, now let's say if you want to mount them on a DIN rail. WAGO also do different DIN rails depending on the ones you're the ones you're working on. So let's say if we're working on the old lever ones, that's these fellas here. That's the 222 series. Then you can use a nice DIN rail mount like this. So what you do is you can terminate your wires and then you can push them in to the DIN rail like so. DIN rail mount. And your wires are sticking out there, and that can be mounted on your consumer unit. So they're quite nice. Yeah, that's those ones. This one here, sorry, that's called a 222-500. So if you Google that, you will find those ones. This is the DIN rail mount for the old push series. That's the old push is the 773 series. I told you it was confusing. And again, you would push your wires in, and then you can push them into here like so. Yeah, and again, they're mounted. And they even do them for the new, that's the 773332 for the 773 series, and they even do a little DIN rail mount for the new ones, which is for the 2273. They're the tiny push ones, and this is called a 2273 500, and that's for these tiny little ones here. You can push them in like so. Yeah. Okay, so that's for those ones there. Okay, so they're all the common WAGOs, and it's not just the ones for your mains wiring. Also, have a look at these. These are I really like these little connectors. Okay, now these are the 243 series, and these are the different ones just depending on the colour. 243204, 243304, 243504 and 243804. Unfortunately, I bought these in a pack, so I don't know which one's the black one, which one's the red one, but again, if you Google them, you will find out the ones. These only do solid core only, so they don't do stranded and they don't do flex, and they only go from, if you have a look, 0.6 to 0.8 millimeters. So just have a little look there. You just go up and down so you can see, got the information there. Yeah, that's that one there. Okay, but same thing applies again. The reason I like these is they can be stacked on top of each other. So each of these are a little four conductor one, so you can connect one wire up to 3 other wires, but obviously it's very small amounts. Now they say 0.6 to 0.8, but when I read up about them, you can actually use 0.5 telephone wire in them, as long as all the other conductors are 0.5 as well. So you wouldn't be able to use, for example, a 0.8 then a 0.5, but if they're all 0.5, then you can use them. So what I was sort of thinking was, let's say in your house now, if you've had all the telephone points going back to one star wire from one particular point, and you need to connect them up. Instead of using a junction box or using jelly crimps, these are so small you can connect up a huge amount of wires together. So let's say, for example, if I wanted to connect up the blues, then again you strip back, it says here to strip back, what is it now? You strip back 5 to 6 millimeters. So if I just roughly 5 to 6 millimeters, and again, just like the push WAGOs, you just push them all the way in until it won't go any further, and that's it. So again, it's nice and tight, and to remove it, you just have to keep twisting and pulling at the same time, and it will come out. So let's just show you there. So push that in, and let's say if we had another blue here, 5 to 6 mil. So these would be great for your little projects that you're doing around the house. So you see, you could get 4 wires there, and then if you had more blue wires, you could just stack them up on top there. So then you could have 8 wires connected to each other in a very small space like that. And then, for example, if you wanted to connect the white blues all up together, all these terminal blocks are exactly the same, they're just different colours. So in a very small space, you can have a lot of wires connected to each other. Can you see that? And then if you wanted to do the same with the oranges and the white orange, you can have a huge amount of wires connected up. So I think these are really nice. Yeah, these are rated, I believe, up to 100 volts. So ideal for your little projects around the house. You know, your little hobby projects. Yeah. So I do sell WAGOs on my site, but you will find them in other places as well. What's quite popular is I sell little samples of them. So for example, I sell all the different push ones, the lever ones, and the lighting ones. together. I probably will do another kit now, selling them with the new type ones, and then I just sell one off each for I think it's like £4 or something, and it gives you an idea. Then you can just feel them, play with them, and then you can decide. You can say, okay, I really like them. I'm going to go and buy 100 of the small push ones. I'm going to buy 100 of the lighting ones, so you won't be disappointed, because then you know what you're getting into before you've committed to buy 100 of them. If you do want to find them, if you check out www.mrtelephone.co.uk, and then hopefully you will find them. Just type in WAGO or WAGO sample, and you'll find my items. Hope you found the video useful. Yeah, I know it's very confusing. It really is confusing, but once you get your head around it, once you start using them, you won't go back to the screw terminal versions. They're really, these WAGOs are absolutely fantastic. They're so well made. I've not known of them to fail. Maybe the odd one does. I haven't heard about it. But they're really, really, really well made. So hopefully you'll find the video useful. If you like it, give a thumbs up. And I appreciate it. If you look at my other videos, you will find lots of videos on telecoms and networking and various how-to videos. Okay, take care. Thanks. Bye now.